Do deadlifts give you a thicker midsection? I love doing them and have gained a great deal of strength in my back from them. However, as a female, I worry that my midsection is thicker as a result.
This is another one of these myths that are out there.
I hate this one. Yeah. This one really makes me upset. So first of all, you don't want to look at the extreme top lifters of any sport and look at their physique and judge their physique and say, oh, that's why their physique necessarily looks that way. First off, people who can deadlift ungodly amounts of weight naturally probably already have thicker waists, okay?
And eat tons of food.
Yeah, and many of them may be on anabolic steroids. There's lots of muscle being built.
Factors there.
Here's the deal. This myth makes me upset because people tend to neglect training the muscles around the core, like the obliques, because they're afraid they're going to get a thicker waist. They lose strength. And the truth is, if you're lean, your waist is going to be small. And if you have muscle around your waist and you're lean, not only are you going to have a small waist, it's going to look more impressive.
When I was competing, like we were, constantly focusing on building like my shoulders and the width of my back to give this illusion that my waist is smaller, even though my waist wasn't technically really shrinking, right? So if you are training the obliques, you're training exercises that may even thicken. Like, who cares if it puts on a 1/4 inch on your waist, but puts 3 inches on the width of your back? The ratio, when you look in the mirror or somebody else looks at you, will look as if your waist is smaller, and it'll look more shapely too. So,
man, adding a 1/2 inch to your waist of muscle is a lot, by the way.
Yeah,
people don't realize that doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. Those are exaggerated numbers.
Yeah.
It's very, very unlikely you would even do that. But I'm saying even if you did do that, it's a lot easier to add that width to the top of your body, to the tops of your shoulder caps and the width of your back. I also think there's a point to address here about training with and without the belt. If you go to a deadlift and you don't wear a belt, you have to think about like the vacuum pose. You end up, your transverse abdominis, you contract inward, and you tighten up and you shrink the waist to be tighter and stiff around your spine for when you lift. If you always wear a belt when you deadlift, you actually train the core to push out. So if you are concerned about your waist looking smaller, staying tighter, staying in, that's a suggestion I would have also is don't deadlift with a belt all the time. Deadlift without a belt. Train your TVA to draw in and actually shrink your waist versus using a belt where you're pushing your waist out against the belt.
The deadlift is a excellent, phenomenal exercise for women. Oftentimes, female clients would say they want to develop their hamstrings and their glutes. They like well-developed lower backs. So if you want to stand up tall in a bikini, not just have good glutes, but have that nice lower back where you see the indentation come in a little bit, that's deadlifts. Yeah. I've never trained any female ever who got really good at deadlifts who came back at me and said, I don't like the way my body looks. They've all fallen in love with the deadlift. So this is so silly to me. This is a myth perpetuated by extreme bodybuilding, in which case I would not take much of their advice because it doesn't apply to most people. In fact, it's unhealthy advice. For most people, men and women.
It's even bad for bodybuilding. I used to scoff at all. I deadlifted all the way up into competition day. Yeah. I mean, and to your point about the back, I mean, your erector spinae looks kind of like abs on your back. So even if it added, again, a 1/4 inch to your waist, you'll have this illusion of it dipping in and being more aesthetically pleasing. So don't eliminate that exercise in fear of adding a little bit to your waist. That's a ridiculous notion that's been perpetuated way too long.
Yeah, I think they're canals. Is it canals or canals?
Let's go with
Canals.